Prince William shocks royal watchers with an emotional interview.
And Meghan Markle gives People magazine and Us Weekly a break as she has her sights set on Vogue. Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, your go-to for insight and opinion on two of the most talked about royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from sunny California.
And I'm back in a very cloudy, misty UK. I've just had a lovely weekend in the eternal city of Rome, watching some horses jump. But I've been keeping more than a watching brief on what's been going on with the Prince and Princess of Wales.
How could you not? I mean, Rupert, that incredible video of Prince William, he reunites with Rhian Mannings, and this is Rhian Mannings, who lost her sweet baby, George, in 2012 to an undiagnosed illness. Within less than a week, she loses her husband, Paul. He's so overwhelmed with grief that he takes his own life, because he's blaming himself for his son's death. This is not the first time Prince William has met with Miss Mannings. She interviewed him, actually. What an interesting flip there is. That idea was to have them change positions. And it just showed, I thought, a lot of grace and strength from the Prince of Wales to see him emotional about her story.
Yeah, and it's something that, I mean, I had a cousin, and actually the Princess of Wales, Diana, came to the funeral of a friend of my cousin's son who died of infant death syndrome back in the early 90s. So I'm fully aware of the impact this has on people and the impact it had on my cousin. And I do know that the Princess of Diana turned up at the funeral, and that the eldest sister is, I'm a goddaughter too. So, and the context of this story is she came back from Korea, and obviously there was a lot going on, but she made a great effort to come to the funeral of my cousin's child who died of this, and the impact this this sudden cot death, to call it the simple sort of slang term, is just horrific, the impact it has on families. And I can immediately understand why William would be so emotional, because he's got small children and we all worry about it. But when it comes home, you know, his mother showed great care and sympathy to my cousin's family, and was a great source of comfort. So in many ways, hearing and reading that, it brought home what I remember as a very personal experience. My cousin, who was like my brother, went through this, and the pain that he went through, and remember, you know, talking about the experience of finding your child in this distressed state. I mean, it beggars belief. So you can fully understand why the Princess of Wales's son is emotional, because he's got 3 children, and he's probably, let's be honest, on a bit of an emotional roller coaster anyway, when you know that your family members, there's a lot going on. And when you hear the rawness of that story, you've got to be pretty brutal if you can't find any compassion. And what it was good to see, it was not fake, it was genuine compassion. And the tears were heartfelt. And it brought home to me the memories from something back in the early 90s from a family perspective. And to see William sort of reliving and sharing his moments was very touching indeed.
It does feel like there's a narrative that's been built since Megxit of that Prince William is more like his father, Prince Harry is more like his mother. So that's interesting for me to hear your recollection, your personal experience, and how that personal experience leads you to feel like Prince William does have some of his mother's most charming and endearing qualities.
I don't think, well, it's there for all to see. We've seen it in his, the holiday video thing, you know, when he's with Eugene Levy, the sort of naturalness and that. But then you see the side that's important, and mental health And then he's saying that how important that his wife has been in sort of bringing all the strands together and making sure that there is a focus to what they're trying to do. So I must admit, it's been it was an interesting video to watch and understand what he was going through. And, you know, I know that there was charities after set up and to try and help, and very important because it's one of the great mysteries, this sudden cot death or sudden death syndrome, that you just, for some inexplicable reason, something happens. Of course, there's been lots of research and things maybe have moved on since the early 90s. But I think and this woman still raw, 10 years or however many years it is on, you know, the family devastated. Now the children are older and, you know, regrouped, and it must have been horrendous. But, you know, to have that happen, that double whammy within 5 days of absolute raw tragedy, beggars belief. And my heart goes out to that lady and what she went through. And at the same time, Prince William showed his very natural caring side by listening to her and reflecting on it with her. And I think it's very important we see that human side of the royal family. We do it, you know, crying is not something they do naturally, but in public it's the stiff upper lip, and we, you know, don't show our emotion. But William doing that definitely has given it an element. We know Harry's cried occasionally. So I think it was a really touching thing to see, and as I say, brought home raw memories for me, and something, as I say, with William's mother involved.
Hey guys, who doesn't want energy, metabolic, immune, and skin support? Meet Peak, a luxury brand transforming wellness with the absolute best rare and precious plants, cutting-edge ingredients, and formulations rooted in traditional wisdom. Their science-backed botanicals, minerals, and supplements support sustained energy, metabolic function, immune health, and radiant skin, making it easy to live each day with vitality. One of their newest essentials, the Deep Hydration Protocol, is a 2-part drinkable skincare system that keeps your body and skin hydrated while promoting better sleep. Made without sugar, fillers, or artificial flavors, and crafted with natural ingredients for a clean, spa-like taste you can feel good about. Daily use supports hydration, glowing skin, improved sleep, and sustained energy. In the AM, I use BT Fountain. This is what they call their beauty electrolyte. Of course, it's for skin and that lasting energy I need to be on camera. But I want to wind down at night. So that's when I switch to RE Fountain, the calming electrolyte. It contains this gentle form of magnesium that eases tension and helps me get deep, restful sleep without feeling groggy the next day. I want you to wake up rested and stay hydrated all day. You get 20% off for life and a complimentary gift with my link below. Explore Peak's clean, pure ingredient products at peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. This is hydration redefined. Try it and glow from the inside out. What does it tell you that she felt comfortable enough with Prince William to try to comfort him in that moment too? Like I thought that, to me, it said that he must be a very approachable and likable figure for her to feel comfortable enough to say, are you okay? Like to go there. Because I mean, I don't know if if there's a person up in power or leadership, I feel like I'd be like, I'm just going to slowly exit the situation and allow you to have your moment.
I think this is one of the things that I think he's trying to break down. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. You know, things happen. You think, talk. And, you know, it's slightly off-piste here, but, you know, there was a famous boxer died recently. And at the funeral, the daughter said something, why didn't you talk? You know, so I think it helps break down barriers when you see someone like Prince William telling all that, yes, you are living in your wonderful gilded cage of a life, but you're still human. Everything is still, you know, you are luckier than most in that you're living in palaces and you've got people looking after you, and it's not necessarily as straightforward. And I think that is very important that we see William behaving in as natural as way possible. And we were reflecting on it, I think, in, I don't know which program it was, but last week, weren't we, about the way the monarchy might be shaping up. And this sort of more natural approach to it and sort of more human approach is, I think, part of what he wants people to see. And we've seen that, the Raw interview, and then we saw the lighter side of him when he was talking with Eugene Levy. So I think it's been a good few weeks from a PR perspective, but naturally done, not contrived, not trying too hard, just putting it out there, and people can judge for themselves in a very reasoned and sensible way.
You're right. It's so organic because your reaction to my question about what does that say about William, your immediate reaction is it says he's getting the point across. We should communicate. We should talk more. So how interesting that it is so subtle, but it's making the impact that they want it to make. They don't have to send a press release. They don't have to sit down with Oprah Winfrey. Everything is so subtle. I mean, I think that that's almost the British versus American way. I think that when you look at the Sussex brand, you see a lot of the aggressive, in your face American strategy that is falling flat.
I think what's important, he's not going for the big staged interview, say, with a recognized journalist. Do you see what, or back in the day, it would have been probably you get a chance to sit down with somebody. And it would be very much sort of controlled, and he wants to do it with in as human as way as possible, going slightly off-piste in the way, the approach. And that was the point of the Eugene Levy thing. It was designed, as we say, to appeal to the American market, and it has certainly achieved that, and probably on a global scale it's achieved.
It's charted across the world in the top, like at number 4 and all in the top 10.
So it tells you how successful that has been. This interview with the lady, again, that may not have as global as impact, because obviously it's very much
it did though because he was emotional. So when I looked up this story to send you a link, I was surprised that it's the way that the internet works, but typically when I look up a story, I get the Daily Express, I get the Daily Mail. With this, it was local NBC, the Today Show, Good Morning America. So I do think it has the impact that they wanted it to because of his emotional reaction. But it's interesting because I think if you cornered Harry and Meghan and said, why did you accept an award for Humanitarians of the Year? They would have said, because we want you to talk about mental health. And it's like, look at the way Prince William just got us all to sit down and break down and talk about mental health. That's the route to go. That is the route, that selflessness that we admire about the British royal family.
Well, the stiff upper lip is the normal mantra for the royal family. But I think that emphasis is changing, and William wants it to be a much more natural way of doing things and showing that. Because I have to say, when you look at a lot of this American PR things around celebrities, it is so controlled. It is so, the narrative is, this is what you're doing. You don't ask a question going there. You can't do the sit down interview and warts and all. You basically, what am I here for? Well, we'll stick to the script. While yes, William's thing was a PR controlled and put out in a controlled way, it basically, William must have been happy to say, right, I'm showing myself really experiencing and understanding and proving that I'm not insensitive to what other people are doing and living in the ivory tower. Because there are members of the royal family whose arrogance causes them more problems than the royal family want.
Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew. Yes, and again, this last week, it's blowing out of all proportions again, and it must be giving William endless headaches because he thinks, well, this is not a good image. You know, that Andrew is dragging the family through the mud again with yet more revelations that are coming out. So the whole thing is a bit of a mess, but it was great to see that interview. And as I say, from a personal experience, I welcomed it, given my link, well, a very tentative link, being at experiencing when my cousin, as I say, lost his child through cot death. And I know they've done a lot of work since then, setting up charities, raising money to try and help, and trying to make some good out of such a horrible thing. And the family are fine now, but at the time it was just devastating.
All right, let's take a catty turn here. I hope you're ready.
Yeah, well, let's change of mood here. Sorry, I got a bit emotional there because obviously it was but you weren't expecting that twist. But
well,
yes,
I love your Princess Diana stories. I always welcome your Princess Diana.
That's probably the most heartbreaking one of the lot.
But I think it says so much about her that she had an international stage. She was, when she picked up and flew somewhere, all eyes were on her, and she said, "You know what? I'm going home. I have."
Well, and this was at the time her marriage was at a breaking up too, so it was a raw time for her in every sense, and obviously there was a lot of focus. But yes, if we must, let's get catty.
Let's get catty. I thought this was an interesting headline from Newsweek, which I always want to remind people. Newsweek used to be totally pro-Sussex, and they have since taken a turn. Listen to this headline. Princess Kate's paparazzi ordeal lasted longer than Meghan's royal career. And actually, when you think about it that way, it's pretty significant. I had this conversation with Katie Nichol a few weeks ago, maybe now, where Katie was saying she was okay that they were accepting a Humanitarians of the Year award because we should encourage them to do good. And I was like, what have they done? What have they done? And she said, well, they've worked with this company for 2 years. And I said, yeah, 2 years longer than she was a member of the British royal family. So, I mean, I guess if she's worked with this company longer than she was a member of the British royal family, she should receive a trophy, I guess. But when you measure Meghan's time in the British royal family against the pressure we're seeing from Prince Harry for that security, and you think about, the at least 6 years in which Catherine didn't have police protection while she was dating Prince William, it does kind of make you sit back and go, get your priorities straight, Harry, or at least have the sense to recognize that you asked for too much too soon, maybe.
Well, it was Wild West time when she was dating William, and it was all part of the era that it was, a lot going on. And obviously this is what some of the court cases is around, some of the things that were going on at the time in the late 90s and early noughties. So, and for the Princess of Wales, Kate, as she was then, she was in the Goldfish Bowl. But if you think back to her mother, William's mother, I mean, when she came on the scene, I mean, she was charged, in the early 80s. I mean, it was desperate for her. Then she was only 19. But for Catherine, again, it was still, hugely difficult. And that was probably one of the reasons why they took time out, because of the pressure that she was under. And it was almost like saying, you know what this means? Because if you do marry me, that Goldfish Bowl is only going to get bigger. And we know that has been the case. Have you got, in many ways, back to mental health, the mental fortitude to survive the slings and arrows that are going to come at you? And I think that was the important sort of break. And then, yes, she obviously eventually came back and they get married, and obviously riding the marital roller coaster. And obviously it's been really tough for them recently. But I think that paparazzi time there, I mean, chasing around St Andrews, I think you may not see much of that now. There is a much more, people realize, back to the mental health side of it, that people are taking a much more reason, certainly in this country. But I don't know whether there is still a Wild West approach over in the States. Meghan and Harry don't seem to get too much outside the sort of controlled Instagram posts that they seem to be putting out, which just make me want to reach for the sick bucket, but that's just me.
Yeah. I thought that it was just an interesting observation from Jack Royston. He said, it may be that measuring Catherine's experiences of harassment against Meghan's is ill-advised for both sides, but needless to say, Catherine endured the searing heat of press intrusion without police protection for longer than her sister-in-law's entire royal career. I love that our mutual friend Jeremy Kyle calls her Iron Kate. I mean, she's Catherine now, but I do see that in the way we've seen her achieve so much in her throughout her time as a member of the British royal family, but overcome so much as well. Not talking about paparazzi. I know that's got to be incredibly difficult, but just having cancer in front of the world and having the entire world debating what's going on with your body. That's really unfortunate.
Yeah, no, I think it must be tough on her. Obviously it affected William's mother. It bound to have done. I mean, we can't comprehend the sort of pressure that you're under. That it's not like if you're an actress or an actor, that's your job. You know you're in the public eye. You've chosen that career. So if you become successful, that is unfortunately goes with the territory. Now, you may not like it, but unfortunately, that's your career. Her, in William's case, they're born into it. Now, they've got to be trained and they get used to it. But from the moment they were born, they have been in the goldfish bowl. And William and Catherine comes into it, and she has to deal with that and the scrutiny. Every time she goes out, everything is analysed from top to bottom. What's she wearing? What impact? I mean, heaven forfend. I mean, if I happen to, well, I'm glad I'm not scrutinised because I'd have a lot of negative press about the way I look. But you always have to think. It's just, you do this every day. You think, well, what am I wearing today? Yeah, I mean, your Union Jack sweater last week attracted a lot of rave reviews. Is it sold out in the States? I don't know. But anyway, do you know what I mean? Me, it's just, well, have I combed my hair? Right?
Have I washed the dirt out of my fingernails from gardening?
Yeah, something like that. Have I? So do you know that's the thing? For me, it's I don't have to worry. But if you think about it, the moment you get up, and if you're on a public duty, she's got to get ready. She's got to put a game face on. And she's been doing that now since the early, 20 odd years now, 25 odd years now. She's had to, okay, now there's people around her to help her doing it. So let's not get, say that it's not like you or I, we got to do it yourself. But in her case, there are people to help. But it's still, even if she goes to the supermarket, people are probably going to be thinking, well, what's she wearing? Oh God, that's a bit unlike, that's how with everyone with mobile phones and everything, it's a tough one. So I admire her resilience in the face of quite a lot of scrutiny. Well, not quite a lot, a huge amount.
Yes, an unfair amount. I adore her, and it is nice to see how strong she is. All right, well, we mentioned security. This is a nice segue. Prince Harry's fragile truce with King Charles has reportedly fallen apart. Harry has reignited tensions by demanding automatic armed taxpayer-funded police protection whenever he visits the UK. Has he ever let this die? I feel like this is a constant conversation we're having. But according to the Sunday Times, Harry personally wrote to the new Home Secretary asking for a fresh risk assessment from RAVIC, the committee that decides who qualifies for royal security. Harry has not been granted that privilege since stepping back in 2020. Palace insiders told the paper the move is deeply unhelpful when it comes to his relationship with King Charles, saying it complicates things for Charles. We're right back where we started. I don't know. I guess in the BBC interview, he said he was going to continue to pursue it. So yeah, are we back where we started, Rupert? What does this tell you about? Oh no, I know what I'm thinking about. In the Guardian, he said he was potentially closer to bringing Meghan and the children to the UK. That's what I was thinking about. So what's the deal here? What's going
I
on?
wish he'd let sleeping dogs lie. And just when he's coming to the UK, it will be analysed. They're not going to leave him high and dry, but it seems like he's got a sense of entitlement that he must be treated, like an equal to the royal rest of the royal family. Of course, they don't want anything to happen to him, no one does. So there will be an element of security. But if he goes to stay in the royal family, there is so much security around there, it wouldn't be a problem. Meghan and Harry could easily take their children to Sandringham, to Balmoral, to Windsor Castle, to Kensington Palace. Wouldn't be an issue because there's enough security around there for everyone to be. But unfortunately, they want to be going around as if they've got motorcycle outriders just to pander so that Meghan feels hugely important again. But I get security is an issue and you've got to be aware of it. But to this endless saying, I've got to have everything. No, you've chosen a life and you can by being, but they always, when they go everywhere, draw attention to themselves, by having motorcades or doing things that just make it complicated for the security people. If he was much more unobtrusive and just got on with it, I'm sure there wouldn't be any hassle. He'd have the necessary protection. But this is where I'm not saying he doesn't deserve protection. And because he is a figure in the public eye, not a working royal, but he does not need the full weight of security. If he's coming to Britain and know what he's planning to do, then a security assessment will be taken. And if it's deemed that he's going somewhere that might put him in a compromising situation, I'm sure he would have the necessary protection aside from just his own security detail.
Can I ask you two questions because I'm afraid I'll forget them and I didn't write them down? Are you ready?
Yeah.
I think you're right because one of the comments that was made in the article was that he was almost 45 minutes late to every engagement because he did not have a police detail helping him zip around the city. And so it really does feel like entitlement here and like resentment that his life isn't the same. Like, why shouldn't you sit in traffic? I sit in traffic. You should sit, why are you?
And there were tube strikes as well. So everybody was suffering.
Yeah.
I even think members of the royal family themselves were struggling to get around. So, except there's a tube strike and Londoners are hacked off.
Right.
That's why.
And then does Meghan Markle's Paris trip negate this entire argument? Like, oh, but you're comfortable with your wife going to Paris without royal protection, driving all over the city and engaging with the paparazzi that you say took your mother's life?
The hypocrisy of the Sussexes is something that it's
going to be studied. It's going to be studied one day, and
because there's the line about be truthful, whatever that line was. They always speak their truth. Isn't that something like that? You probably you can.
I blocked that out of my head, but okay, yes, in the Guardian article, he says Meghan encourages him to always tell the truth. That's what they do; they tell the truth, something like that.
Their truth, anyway. So, but their truth, that Paris thing, I'm still trying to get my head around that.
Oh, well, well, we're going to talk about that because I have some new details about that. But when it comes to the security thing, it's wild, right? That he, Also, was it a strategy? I know I came out at the time and said that Harry was trying to divert from Meghan's negative headlines by mentioning the stalker that approached him twice while he was there. But now I'm wondering if the stalker story was a strategic lead up to this story where we find out that Harry is still demanding the UK security.
It doesn't take... Again, the brains of an archbishop to work out that there clearly is a PR strategy there. Now, I don't know the details of this stalker, that she was around, but it doesn't. Yes, she may be a stalker, but I don't think necessarily she's out there to do him serious harm. She's just probably unless I've got it wrong.
No,
And
I've seen reports that this is a
mm,
fan, a known
mm,
fan of the British royal family.
and just probably a real nuisance, and just goes beyond what is deemed acceptable behavior. But how serious a security risk she is to sort of life and limb, then I don't know. And it does seem to me have been an easy thing to say, look, I was in London and I got a stalker. Well, he's in the public eye. I mean, most celebrities, sadly, it's just the way we live now, seem to have stalking stories that really are quite nasty to that report. So I have to say, it did seem to be a sensible, well, not sensible. It was their PR strategy. Look, stalker, I need help when I come to Britain. Well, then she goes off to Paris and she's driving around the middle of the night, and what's the security detail there following around? I don't know.
And who's paying for it? Who's paying for
And
it?
yeah, well, I assume Harry is.
Yeah.
Or was it the Paris Fashion Week people?
Well, we found out over the weekend that she invited herself. Like it wasn't a big ask. Like no one was sitting around a table going, "Do you know who we should get?" And that would stop everyone in their tracks. It's Meghan Markle. Meghan sent a text to the designer. He said this in an interview with Meghan's favorite magazine, The Cut. Nelson Mandela dancing in the streets, The Cut. He said Meghan texted me and asked if she could come. Like that's inviting yourself to Paris Fashion Week. So maybe they would give her some resources, but it's not like this was a strategy that Paris Fashion Week came up with or wanted.
Oh, well, it makes it even more shallow, the whole thing.
Well, wait. Okay, let's just go into that. So I feel like we've covered Prince Harry's.
Yeah.
Basically, you're saying Prince Harry, the current path you're on is not working. I think that's what I translated from our chat. So what we know about Meghan Markle's trip to Paris is that she reached out to Balenciaga's designer over text and said, "Can I come?" And he said yes. Now, an interesting piece in the Daily Mail titled "What That Solo Paris Trip Says About Harry and Meghan's Marriage" revealed that a well-placed source reports that Meghan is currently working on a cover for a glossy magazine, possibly Vogue. It says, an obvious explanation then would be that the Paris trip was necessary for that media commitment. Perhaps the cover story is Meghan Takes Paris, and the idea of that kind of prestigious media hit was simply too tempting for her to overthink Harry's feelings about Paris. Because the story in the Daily Mail is like Harry hates Paris and always has because of his mother's death. I think that Meghan calling up somebody she had barely had a relationship with. This guy's like, we text sometimes. Meghan releases a statement saying that they have collaborated on the world stage. And he tells The Cut, yeah, we text sometimes. I mean, I think that she is trying to, with her Paris Fashion Week exploits, I think she was trying to secure this Vogue placement.
Oh. Well,
she was seen with the Vogue editor, the new Vogue editor, who, by the way, is Murphy Brown's daughter, a Nepo baby. That's why she got the gig over the weekend in New York.
Well, maybe she is going to appear on Vogue. It got a lot of eyeballs. And that sort of walk to the car or what it was, it drove me mad. That sort of look at me moment. There was nothing graceful about it. It was, I'm the star here, yet I've had to, but then you can tell me she's had to invite herself to be the star, which is as tacky as it gets. I mean,
Victoria Beckham would never. Victoria Beckham would never.
Well, no.
You know what Victoria Beckham would do? She'd throw her own party and invite the people she wanted to accept.
I haven't watched the documentary.
It's amazing.
You have.
I loved it.
And I'm sure there is a lesson. I mean, it doesn't take the Beckham family one, brilliantly controlled PR exercise, brilliantly done, successful. Brand Beckham getting it right. Victoria then goes and does one. And warts and all gives some very interesting discussions about her own mental health issues, about how she had to deal with anorexia and all that and covering up back in the day. there were some very fascinating insights that I've seen clips of, and actually put her in very good light and show how she's managed and just got on with it, and shown with a good deal of hard work. And if you look at the two words I've just used, hard work, has enabled Victoria Beckham to have a successful fashion brand, which is not easy. And she talks about the road to get to where it is now has been a troubled one. Financially wasn't always easy, despite all her Spice Girl millions, and all that. And then brand Beckham, they're not short of a bob or two, but it's been a real masterclass. And this PR exercise, they get their PR so right. And this is a wonderful puff for Victoria. Yet you look at what Meghan has tried to do with As Ever, which Netflix are putting on there. They are two programs that are chalk and cheese. One is trying so very hard. Victoria, you might say, might be trying hard, but at least she comes over and she's self-deprecating, which is, sending herself up, which is very good of the brand Beckhams to give themselves, look, we don't always take ourselves so seriously. And I think that is really good. It's such a lesson for Meghan's team. But I wouldn't think Meghan would know how to be self-deprecating, because she's so convinced of her legendary status that it unfortunately wouldn't come across natural. Victoria was always, the Spice Girls. She was always the one weren't really sure whether she sang.
Yeah, no, and we didn't care.
What I mean?
She was just so cute. Like she was.
Well, am I right there? I mean, because you gave Jerry did the singing, and Mel B did some singing.
Mel C has a great voice. Baby has a great voice. Yeah.
Whereas Victoria was always the one who probably did the harmonies, and occasionally.
She looked good. She looked really good in her Gucci dress. Oh. Well, can I tell you one thing that bothered me about, and I just don't think I'll have the opportunity to say this again, but anywhere else, because I haven't really discussed it anywhere else. But the one thing that really bothered me, and you mentioned this, when she talks about her mental health struggles and her eating disorder, maybe it's the media. Maybe I should blame the media here. But when I was a little girl, I combed magazines to see what she ate because I wanted to look like her. And I remember I still have the calorie count and what she ate in my head. She ate 1,200 calories a day. She prioritized carrots. I mean, I know at some point she prioritized salmon. I was so obsessed with trying to look like her when I was a little girl, and I never could because she was an unrealistic thin. And now to hear 30 years later, that it was an eating disorder. It's so frustrating that as a little girl, I was reading in a magazine that I needed to set my calorie count every day for 1,200, and then I could look like her. And then I was so upset because I wasn't looking like her. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was hard to hear that after that.
You make a very good point. And in a way, Meghan and Harry were talking about, for the children, the stuff that's out there and the sort of people needing to look like. Sadly, that situation, and okay, social media is even worse now, the pressure and the pressure on young people is no less than it was when you were growing up. And the sort of pressure to want to look like one of the Spice Girls, because they were iconic the world over. They were sort of, had a sort of rebel streak about them, which made them incredibly popular the world over, which is fair play to them. But it is sad that you felt that you had to eat only 1,200 calories as a young girl, and the pressure to look like that. And that is something that is and that's the mental health issues that William talks about. And to some extent, Harry and Meghan do try and talk about, and saying it's about their young children. But unfortunately, they come with a lot of baggage about some of the other stuff that they're involved in that gives them negative headlines. So they can't cut through the negative stuff to tell the positive stuff.
Right.
Does that make sense?
But it is the consequences of their own actions. If you want to be a force for anti-bullying, you really got to clear up the rumors that you were a palace bully? And B, why do you have Chrissy Teigen, who told a teenage girl to unalive herself on Twitter in front of God and everybody and in DMs? Why would you have that person on your show and give that person a platform? Do you know what I mean? It's like the consequences of their own actions. They don't do their due diligence and they don't sit back and go, what is the worst possible reaction we could have to this decision? All right, based on the fact that Chrissy bullied that person online because it's available on the internet, should we maybe skip this guest and find somebody else that, might not be as controversial?
Well, this is the problem with them. They don't see the consequences. When you come to the Victoria Beckham program, Netflix must be salivating at the figures that program has done, because she is a global icon and figure, and and you've watched it, and I think you told me you enjoyed it. It was a very well put together documentary about Victoria Beckham. And yet we know, and I've had, on the other hand, watched the dross that is the Meghan stuff. And that tells me that they don't actually understand their market properly. We know As Ever is struggling. So now she's having to reinvent herself again as a fashion icon. What the heck is she? It changes with the wind. She changed her direction changes like the seasons. Okay,
oh my
California,
gosh. No, this is the perfect. Okay, this is the last thing we're going to, and I want it to come right off the tail of what you just said. She changes with the seasons. Meghan Markle on Tuesday is joining Kamala Harris, Selena Gomez, and more at Fortune's annual Most Powerful Women Summit. Meghan is reportedly set to discuss the launch of her lifestyle brand As Ever, as well as navigating entrepreneurship in the public eye and building a brand that will endure. What brand has she built that will endure? As Ever used to be American Riviera Orchard. Okay. Archetypes dead in the water. What happened to Confessions of a Female Founder? What happened to the TIG? Rest in peace. What brand endures in the Meghan Markle space? The British royal family could teach us a thing or two about how to build a brand that endures. But Meghan Markle hasn't proven herself in any way, shape, or form. Congratulations, you married a prince.
This is the point. What has, As Ever is supposed to be struggling. This is where you go, what's she doing? And let's be honest, Kamala Harris's PR has not been brilliant of late. Some of the stuff that is coming out about, some of the interviews she's done, it's not, it seems easy. She's trying to say, look, I am the great entrepreneur. But having listened to the podcast, I mean, it was so fake. And it comes down to, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, if you're in success or failure, entrepreneurs often have a failure, but they learn by their failure and they come back stronger and better, but they work hard at it. She comes up, as I say, 1 minute now, she thinks, well, I'll be better off now going to be on the front cover, and look at me, I'm a clothes horse. I'm a model again. But I don't then, that's easy, because all I do is got to get dressed and walk out and be photoed.
Yeah.
That's what that involves. Doesn't require the nitty gritty of, right, you're running a business. I've got to go into the office 9 till 5, maybe 9 till 1 o'clock in the morning because the business needs me 24/7. No, she's just jetting around, appearing on a stage, on a red carpet. But when she actually settling down and saying, right, how are we going to get As Ever to regroup and come back? I'd be happy to be proved wrong. And so in a year's time, we suddenly see As Ever as a hugely successful brand. But I'm not holding my breath.
And let's just give some peace to the people that are angry about the Vogue thing. I think I heard you say, yeah, it could happen. I agree. I think it could happen because there's a newbie on the scene, this Nepo baby, who loves clickbait and recognizes that whether you love her or you hate her, you're going to read an article about Meghan Markle. I think that we need to bring some comforts to our viewers. And so I'll just remind them that there's no there. Meghan might get an interview with Vogue, but what can she contribute that moves the needle in a positive direction? When she sat down with The Cut, they were vicious. And all they did was repeat what she said, that people were dancing in the street, Nelson Mandela style, when she married Prince Harry, that her and Prince Harry were like the two palm trees outside holding hands. Meghan Markle is her own worst enemy, talking to Bloomberg about how she anchors in herself. I mean, nothing she says
Oh.
makes sense. So I don't think there's anything for us to get worked up over. I think it says more about Vogue and their decline in their credibility, that somebody that has utilized Us Weekly magazine and People magazine as their own personal press release system over the last 5 years, that you would give that person the opportunity to then use Vogue as a similar vehicle.
Magazines, well, the newspaper and magazine industry, is falling on its feet at the moment. So basically, it's sort of online stuff. What interview is she going to give that's, as you quite rightly say, that is suddenly going to offer some groundbreaking insight into her life? I think, isn't she? She must be talked out now. I mean,
she's been unsilenced how many times, Rupert? How many times has she been unsilenced? Okay, we're ready. We've been waiting since the Oprah Winfrey interview for you to say anything of value.
Well, and this is it. And it normally comes out of psychobabble that we try and decipher and go, well, are you speaking English or whatever? That's the trouble. I try and see through the sort of syrup that she comes out with. At least when you go back to what we were talking about before, when you see William doing his thing, it's not trying to be contrived. It is what it is. You can feel it.
Yeah.
With Meghan, it's that, and there is nothing. And I'm afraid Vogue may be looking to go into the post-Anna Wintour era. See, I knew that. With trying to be relevant. And I don't know whether Murphy Brown's daughter is any good or whatever. I have no idea. As you know, it's not my wheelhouse, as I say, about the fashion. But the fashion industry and the magazine industry is changing. And Vogue may have had its glory days. And I don't think Meghan's going to make any difference. But you're right. If they want to draw attention to the magazine, then you put someone who basically annoys a lot of people, but there will be supporters. But people, because they're annoyed by her, will still look at Vogue. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? And that's probably quite good marketing.
Yeah. So, that's fine. It's your own funeral, Vogue. Enjoy.
Well, I mean, it depends where they go from there. Is it just short-termism on their behalf, or is this a new strategy to take us into a slightly different direction? No idea. Not my area of expertise. But, she's on the front cover. She'll probably be wearing white.
Always, because she wants us to think she's sweet and innocent when it's like,
you may be right there. Anyway, no, it's been another fun-packed week, friend, and we're going to have more stuff, aren't we? We'll be talking about the trip to New York and some of the great insights that she's given the female business world. But
that's Washington, D.C. That's Washington, D.C. And just to quote my friend Rupert Bell from last week, when did she see her kids? Paris, New York, Washington, D.C.?
Well, she did have time to put a picture on Instagram with the kids.
Again, thanks to the fact that they're always of the back of their head, we don't know exactly at what age the child is when the photo was taken. It could be 2 years ago. I don't know.
This is what I'm thinking at the moment. She's not doing. I'm presumably, what age are they now? They must be at school, so you can probably
4 and
say
6, I think, maybe 4 and 6.
They will be, but school. But yes, I mean, I'm sure she's getting back there and doing the school run as soon as she gets back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, yeah. So we'll have to dissect what she says next week in Washington, D.C. I might play a game with you, Rupert. I might ask you to not watch as much as possible, and I might play a game with you called Who Said It, Kamala Harris or Meghan Markle, because they both talk in those weird, like.
I'm more than happy to play that game, and I think I may be. If I get it right on any case, yes, I think that we a game of who said what
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm not going to, just have a pop at Kamala or what is she? Kamala? Kamala? What is it?
Kamala. Yeah.
Kamala Harris. But obviously, her and Meghan have not had their problems, should they say? I'm not talking about Kamala Harris's politics or anything, but what she says sometimes comes out a little bit confusing for the world to understand. So I'll be intrigued. Yes, that's quite a good game.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. I might be in Spain next week in Malaga, so I'll be talking to you from another country, but sort of mixing holiday with a bit of pleasure for the next week. I'm off to go and hit some golf balls around some courses in Spain. So
fun. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Your fans would be devastated without you.
Well, I think the world. There are more important things to worry about than going on in the world, which certainly have concentrated the minds. But it's always nice to have a little bit of fun. And fair play to Victoria Beckham. She's had a good week.
Yeah, she really has. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time, Rupert. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. When's the last time you bought a Vogue magazine? Let me know that in the comments as well, too. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.